The boat moves slowly across the water, and the water moves slowly beneath the boat, and there is a rhythm to this movement that feels older than memory, older than thought. The hull is wooden and sturdy, built long ago by hands that understood the sea, and it creaks softly with each gentle rise and fall, a sound that has become familiar, a sound that has become part of the night itself. The sails are set and full, catching a breeze so mild and so constant that it seems the wind has always been blowing from this direction, will always continue to blow from this direction, carrying the vessel forward at a pace that asks nothing and promises nothing. The helm is smooth under my hands, worn by years of other hands, other journeys, and I hold it lightly, making small adjustments that are barely adjustments at all, just the slightest pressure of fingers against wood, the smallest shift of weight. The sea stretches out in all directions, a vast and quiet plain of dark water that merges with the sky somewhere far beyond sight, and above the moon hangs full and round behind a thin veil of clouds that drift across its face without ever fully covering it, without ever fully revealing it. The light that comes down is soft and silver, diffused and gentle, and it touches the surface of the water in long, shifting patterns that move and shimmer and fade and return. There is no destination tonight, no harbor waiting, no schedule to keep. There is only the movement of the boat and the movement of the water and the slow passage of time, measured in the gentle rocking motion that never quite repeats itself, never quite changes. The air is cool but not cold, carrying the scent of salt and distance, of deep water and open sky, and when I breathe it in, it fills my lungs with a freshness that is clean and simple and uncomplicated. The deck beneath my feet is solid and familiar, every plank and cleat and line exactly where it should be, exactly where it has always been. Behind me, the cabin glows with a faint amber light from the small lamp burning below, a warm point of reference in the surrounding darkness, a quiet invitation to rest that waits patiently, knowing there is no rush, knowing the night is long and the sea is calm. The companionway is open, and sometimes a warmer breath of air rises from below, carrying with it the smell of old wood and rope and the accumulated comfort of many nights spent here, many journeys taken, many hours of stillness and peace. I adjust the main sheet slightly, easing it out just a fraction, and the sail responds with a soft flutter before settling again into its curve, and the boat continues its steady progress across the water. The sound of the waves against the hull is rhythmic and constant, a quiet lapping and slapping that blends with the creak of the rigging and the whisper of the wind and the occasional distant sound of water moving. Somewhere out in the darkness, perhaps a larger swell rolling through, perhaps just the sea breathing in its own slow way. The clouds above are thin and wispy, moving across the face of the moon in slow procession, and sometimes the light brightens just slightly as a thinner patch passes, and sometimes it dims just slightly as a thicker patch arrives, but the changes are gradual and gentle, never sudden, never startling. The silver glow reflects off the mist that hangs just above the water in places, creating soft halos of light that float and drift and eventually dissolve back into the darkness. The horizon has disappeared entirely now, merged completely with the sky, so that the world has become a single sphere of dark blue and silver gray, and the boat moves through the center of this sphere, always at the center, always surrounded by the same gentle emptiness. I have been sailing for hours, though time has lost its usual meaning out here, and the hours could just as easily be minutes or days or something else entirely, something measured not by clocks, but by the number of waves that have passed beneath the keel, the number of breaths taken, the number of times the moon has appeared and disappeared behind its veil of cloud. My body has settled into the rhythm of the boat, swaying slightly with each rise and fall, and my hands on the helm have become extensions of the vessel itself, feeling the water through the wood, sensing the wind through the tension in the lines. There are no other boats visible, no lights on any distant shore, no evidence of anything beyond this small circle of sea and sky and the quiet vessel moving through it. The isolation is complete but not lonely, the solitude profound but not empty. There is a sense of being held by the water, supported and carried, and a sense of being watched over by the moon, even in its veiled state, even in its soft and muted glow. The world has simplified itself down to these basic elements: water, air, wood, sail, light, darkness, and the slow movement that connects them all. I let my gaze drift across the surface of the sea, watching the patterns of light and shadow that shift and flow, watching the small ripples and the larger swells, watching the way the water catches the moonlight and holds it for a moment before releasing it again. There is no pattern to follow, no particular direction that seems more important than any other, and yet the boat knows where it is going. Or perhaps it does not matter where it is going. Perhaps the going itself is enough. The simple act of moving forward through the night, of being here in this moment, in this place, doing this one thing. The temperature of the air has dropped slightly as the night has deepened, and I can feel it on my face and hands, a coolness that is pleasant and refreshing, that reminds me I am awake, that reminds me I am here. I pull my jacket a little closer around me, though I am not truly cold, and the fabric is soft and worn and familiar, another layer of comfort, another small adjustment to the night. The boat continues its progress, and I continue my watch, and the hours continue to pass in their slow and unremarkable way. Below in the cabin, the lamp continues to burn, and its light creates a small pool of warmth that seems to radiate upward through the companionway, a reminder that there is shelter nearby, that there is rest available whenever I choose to take it. But for now I remain at the helm, held by the quiet beauty of the night, by the gentle motion of the sea, by the silver light filtering down through the clouds. There is a peace in this moment that feels rare and precious, though it is not rare at all out here, though it is the natural state of things, the way the sea always is when the wind is calm and the moon is bright, and there is nothing to disturb the stillness. I think about the water beneath the boat, how deep it is, how dark, how filled with life and movement that I cannot see, cannot hear, cannot sense except as a presence, a vast and ancient presence that supports this small vessel and asks nothing in return. The keel cuts through the water cleanly, leaving a small wake that spreads out behind and eventually fades back into the general texture of the sea, leaving no permanent mark, no lasting trace. Everything here is temporary, and everything here is eternal, both at once, in the same moment. The rigging creaks softly as the boat shifts slightly to starboard, responding to some subtle change in the wind or the current, and I let the helm move in my hands, following the boat's own wisdom, trusting its balance, its design, its knowledge of how to move through water. I have learned not to fight the boat, not to force it, but to work with it, to listen to what it tells me through the tiller, through the tension in the sheets, through the angle of the mast against the sky. We are partners in this journey, the boat and I, each doing our part, each respecting the other. The moon shifts behind its clouds, and the quality of the light changes again, becoming perhaps slightly softer, slightly more diffuse, though the change is so gradual that I cannot say exactly when it happened, cannot point to a specific moment when the light was different from what it is now. Time moves like this out here, in smooth gradations, in gentle transitions, without the sharp edges and clear boundaries that divide one moment from another on land. Out here, everything flows into everything else, and the present moment stretches out in all directions, containing both the past and the future within itself. I breathe in the salt air again, letting it fill my lungs completely, letting it clear my mind of whatever thoughts had been drifting through, and when I breathe out, the thoughts drift away across the water, dissolving into the darkness, becoming part of the night. There is a simplicity to this breathing, to this being, that feels essential and true, that feels like the most natural thing in the world. The body knows how to breathe, the boat knows how to sail, the sea knows how to carry, and I know how to be here, how to hold the helm, how to watch the clouds and the water and the shifting patterns of light. Far off to port, something breaks the surface of the water, perhaps a fish, perhaps something larger, and there is a small splash, and then silence again, and the ripples spread out and fade, and the sea returns to its previous state, as if nothing had happened, as if everything is always happening, and nothing ever really changes. I watch the spot where the disturbance was, but there is nothing more to see. Just the same dark water, the same silver reflection, the same gentle movement of swells passing through. The clouds continue their slow parade across the moon, and I watch them without thinking about them, without naming them, or categorizing them, or wondering what they might bring. They are simply clouds, simply water vapor suspended in air, simply shapes of gray against the darker gray of the sky, and they move because the wind moved them, and they will continue to move long after I have gone below to rest, long after this night has passed into the next day, and the next night beyond that. They are part of the great cycle of things, and so is the boat, and so am I. All of us moving through our appointed paths, all of us held by forces larger than ourselves. I check the compass, though I already know what it will say, already know the heading has not changed, will not change unless I change it, and the small glowing dial shows the same direction it has shown for hours, the needle steady and true, pointing into the darkness ahead. There is comfort in this consistency, in this reliability, in knowing that some things remain constant, even as everything around them shifts and flows. The compass does not question, does not doubt, does not wonder. It simply points, and that is enough. The water laps against the hull in its steady rhythm, and I find myself listening to it more carefully, hearing the individual sounds within the larger sound, the small slaps and gurgles, the rushes and whispers, the complex music of water moving against wood. Each wave is slightly different. Each meeting of water and hull creates its own particular sound, and yet the overall pattern remains the same, remains familiar, remains comforting. It is like listening to breathing or to a heartbeat, or to any of the other rhythmic sounds that mark the passage of life, the continuation of existence. The sail above me is almost invisible in the darkness, just a slightly darker shape against the dark sky, but I can feel its presence, can sense the wind filling it, can hear the soft sound it makes as the air flows across its surface. The sail is doing its work quietly and efficiently, converting the wind's energy into forward motion, and it requires nothing from me except occasional small adjustments, occasional attention, occasional care. We are working together, the sail and the wind and the water and the hull and I, each element contributing its part to the whole, each element necessary and sufficient. I shift my weight slightly on the seat, finding a more comfortable position, though I had been comfortable before, and I will be comfortable again in any position, because comfort out here is not about the body's arrangement, but about the mind's acceptance, about the willingness to be present in whatever is happening, to let the moment be exactly what it is, without wishing it were something else. The boat rocks gently beneath me, and I rock with it, and the sea rocks beneath the boat, and the moon rocks across the sky behind its veil, and everything is in motion, and everything is still, both at once, always. The night has deepened further now, moving toward that darkest hour that comes before the first hint of dawn. Though dawn is still far off, still many hours away, and there is no need to think about it, no need to anticipate its arrival. This moment is enough. This darkness is enough. This quiet movement across the water is enough. I have everything I need here in this small space. The boat beneath me, the helm in my hands, the wind in the sail, the water all around, the moon above, the clouds drifting past. What else could be necessary? Sometimes I think about other times I have been at sea, other nights like this one, other moments of peace and stillness and slow progress across dark water, and the memories blend together into a single continuous experience, as if I have always been here, have always been sailing under a clouded moon, have always been holding this helm and watching these waves and breathing this air. The past and the present merge, and the future seems irrelevant, and there is only this eternal now, stretching out in all directions, containing everything, requiring nothing. The amber light from the cabin continues to glow below, and sometimes I glance down at it, reassured by its warmth, by its constancy, by the way it represents shelter and rest, and the possibility of sleep whenever I am ready for it. But I am not ready yet, not quite, because the night is still beautiful, still peaceful, still offering this gift of solitude and silence and slow movement across the water. I will go below eventually, when the time feels right, when my body tells me it is ready to rest, but for now I am content to remain here, to continue this watch, to continue this simple task of steering the boat through the darkness. The wind remains steady, neither increasing nor decreasing, just maintaining its gentle pressure against the sail, its quiet voice singing through the rigging. It is a wind that has been blowing for a long time, that will continue to blow for a long time. That is part of the larger pattern of air moving across the ocean, circulating around the planet, connecting this place to all other places. I am borrowing this wind for a while, using it to move my boat forward, and then it will continue on its way, will touch other sails, other shores, other lives, carrying with it perhaps some small memory of this night, this vessel, this moment. The water temperature is cool beneath the hull, and I can sense it somehow through the wood, through the keel, through the way the boat sits in the water and moves through it. The sea is neither warm nor cold, just present, just itself, just the vast body of water that covers most of the planet, and that has existed for longer than any human memory can reach. I am a visitor here, a temporary presence on the surface, and the sea tolerates my passage with indifference, neither helping nor hindering, simply being what it is, doing what it does, continuing its own ancient rhythms regardless of my small journey across its surface. I look up at the moon again, seeing how the clouds have shifted, how the patterns of light and shadow have changed without really changing, how everything remains essentially the same while being constantly in motion. The moon seems lower in the sky now, or perhaps it is just an illusion created by the clouds, by the way they frame it, by the angle of my vision from the moving boat. It does not matter whether it is lower or not, whether it is rising or setting or holding steady. It is there, that is what matters, providing its soft light, its gentle illumination, its quiet presence in the night sky. My hands on the helm have relaxed completely now, holding the wood lightly, barely exerting any pressure, just resting there, connected to the boat through touch, feeling the small movements, the subtle shifts, the continuous conversation between water and rudder and keel. I could almost sail without touching the helm at all, could almost let the boat find its own way, but there is comfort in this contact, in this connection, in this small participation in the journey. It keeps me present, keeps me attentive, keeps me here rather than drifting off into thoughts or dreams or the space between waking and sleeping. The darkness around the boat is complete, but not oppressive, not heavy or threatening or uncomfortable. It is simply the absence of light, the natural state of the night, and my eyes have adjusted to it completely, finding shapes and shadows, distinguishing the water from the sky, seeing the subtle variations in the darkness that indicate depth and distance and movement. The human eye is remarkably adaptable, remarkably sensitive, able to find its way even in conditions that seem at first to offer nothing but blackness. And in this darkness there is a kind of freedom, a release from the need to see everything clearly, to understand everything completely, to know exactly where I am and where I am going. The boat continues its progress, neither fast nor slow, just moving at the speed that the wind and the water and the design of the hull allow. And this speed is exactly right, is perfect for this moment, for this night, for this journey that has no destination and no deadline. I could sail faster if I wanted to, could adjust the sails, could change course to catch more wind, but there is no reason to do so, no purpose in hurrying, no value in arriving anywhere sooner than the boat naturally wants to arrive. Speed is irrelevant out here as a concept that belongs to another world, another life, another way of being. I think about the water beneath me, about how many fathoms deep it might be, about what lies on the bottom so far below, about the fish and creatures that swim in those dark depths, living their lives in complete blackness, never seeing the moon, never knowing the wind, never touching the air. Their world and mine exist in the same space, but are completely separate, completely different, connected only by this thin boundary of surface, where water meets air, where my boat floats and their world begins. It is a strange thought, a humbling thought, a reminder of how much exists beyond my perception, beyond my understanding, beyond my small circle of experience. The sail makes a soft sound as a slight shift, and the wind changes the angle of its curve. and I make a tiny adjustment to the helm, barely moving my hand, just a slight pressure that brings the boat back to its heading, and the sail settles again, and the sound fades, and everything returns to its previous state. These small adjustments are automatic now, require no thought, no decision, no effort. The body knows what to do, the hands know how to respond, and the mind can rest, can simply observe, can simply be present without needing to direct or control or manage. The clouds have thickened slightly, and the moon's light is more diffused now, softer, more spread out across the sky, and the silver glow has dimmed just a bit, though there is still enough light to see by, still enough illumination to make out the shapes and shadows, still enough brightness to reflect off the water in long shifting bands. The darkness has deepened, but not oppressively, not threateningly, just naturally, the way darkness deepens as night progresses, as the sources of light become more indirect, more filtered, more distant. I can feel the fatigue beginning to settle into my muscles, not an unpleasant sensation, not painful or uncomfortable, just a gentle weariness that comes from hours of sitting, hours of holding the same position, hours of small adjustments and quiet attention. It is the kind of tiredness that feels earned, feels natural, feels like the body's way of saying that rest will be welcome when it comes, that sleep will be deep and peaceful and restorative. But I am not yet ready to go below, not yet ready to leave the helm, not yet ready to end this watch and this communion with the night. The water continues to lap against the hull, and the rhythm has become so familiar, so constant, that I barely hear it anymore, barely notice it except as a background presence, a foundation upon which all the other sounds rest. It is like the sound of my own breathing, something that continues whether I pay attention to it or not, something that requires no effort, no thought, no awareness. And yet when I do pay attention to it, when I do listen carefully, I hear the richness of it, the complexity, the subtle variations that make each wave, each ripple, each small movement of water against wood slightly different from every other. The helm remains steady in my hands, and the boat remains steady on its course, and the wind remains steady in its pressure against the sail, and the moon remains steady behind its veil of clouds, and everything in this moment is steady and calm and predictable and safe. There is no danger here, no threat, no reason for concern or worry or vigilance beyond the simple, gentle attention that sailing requires. The sea is kind tonight, the wind is gentle, the boat is sound, and I am here, present and aware and content. I look around at the darkness, at the emptiness of the horizon in all directions, at the absence of any landmark or reference point or indication of where I am in relation to anywhere else, and instead of feeling lost or disoriented or uncertain, I feel strangely grounded, strangely centered, as if this lack of reference is itself a kind of reference, as if this emptiness is itself a kind of fullness. I am exactly where I am, nowhere else, and that is enough. The boat is moving, the water is flowing, the wind is blowing, and these simple facts are sufficient, are complete, are all that needs to be known. The amber light from the cabin flickers slightly as the boat rocks, creating small movements of shadow and brightness, and I watch this play of light for a moment, finding it beautiful in its simplicity, in its randomness, in the way it suggests warmth and shelter without demanding anything, without insisting that I come below, without breaking the spell of the night. The cabin will be there when I am ready for it. The lamp will be burning, the bunk will be waiting, soft and dry and comfortable, and I will sleep there eventually, deeply and peacefully, rocked by the same motion of the sea that rocks me now. But for now I remain at the helm, under the clouded moon, moving slowly across the open water, feeling the night wrap around me like a blanket, feeling the peace settle into my bones, feeling the tension of the world I left behind dissolve completely into this moment of simple presence, simple being, simple existence. The boat knows where it is going, or perhaps it does not matter where it is going, or perhaps the going itself is the destination, the journey itself is the arrival. The distinction has ceased to matter, has ceased to have any meaning out here where time and space and purpose have all softened into something more fluid, more flexible, more forgiving. The wind whispers through the rigging, and the water whispers against the hull, and the sail whispers as it catches the air, and all these whispers blend together into a single soft sound, a lullaby, a gentle song that has no words and needs no words, that speaks directly to something deeper than thought, deeper than language, deeper than conscious awareness. It is the song of the elements, the song of movement and stillness, the song of being alive in a world that is both vast and intimate, both empty and full, both dark and luminous. I close my eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but just to rest them, just to experience the night without the sense of sight, and immediately all the other senses sharpen, become more acute, more present. I hear the water more clearly, feel the motion of the boat more distinctly, smell the salt air more intensely, sense the wind's direction more precisely. The world does not disappear when I close my eyes. It simply rearranges itself, presents itself differently, speaks in a different language. And when I open my eyes again, the darkness seems less dark, the moon seems brighter, the water seems closer, as if by closing my eyes I have somehow reset my vision, refreshed my ability to see. The night continues, and the boat continues, and I continue, and there is a sense that this could go on forever, that I could sail like this endlessly, moving through darkness and silver light, through calm water and gentle wind, through time that has no beginning and no end, through space that has no boundaries and no limits. It is a fantasy, of course, a pleasant illusion, because eventually dawn will come. Eventually the wind will change. Eventually I will need to make decisions about direction and destination and all the practical matters that wait in the future. But that future is not here yet, is not present in this moment, and for now I can allow myself to believe in the possibility of endless sailing, endless peace, endless communion with the sea and the sky and the night. The clouds shift again, opening up slightly, and for a moment the moon shines through more clearly, more brightly, casting sharper shadows on the deck, illuminating the water with more distinct patterns of light and dark. The change lasts only a few moments before the clouds close again, softening everything once more, returning the world to its previous state of diffused silver and deep blue. But in those few moments I see the boat more clearly, see the details of the rigging and the deck and the cabin, and I am reminded of how beautiful this vessel is, how perfectly designed, how well crafted, how worthy of trust and care. My hands remain on the helm, and the helm remains connected to the rudder, and the rudder remains in the water, and the water remains all around, and the connections between all these things are simple and direct and unbreakable. This is how sailing works. This is how movement happens, through these physical connections, these transfers of force and energy, these relationships between wind and sail and hull and water. It is straightforward and uncomplicated, and yet there is a beauty in it, an elegance, a rightness that transcends the merely mechanical and becomes something more, something that touches the spirit, the soul, the deepest parts of human awareness. I think about the people who built this boat, who shaped the wood and fitted the pieces and sealed the seams, who designed the hull and rigged the mast and attached the rudder, and I feel a connection to them across time, a gratitude for their skill and care and attention to detail. They did their work well, and because of that I am able to be here now, able to sail safely across dark water, able to trust this vessel with my life, able to find peace and comfort and joy in this simple act of moving across the sea. The boat is their gift to me, though they never knew me, never imagined me, never thought about who might one day hold this helm, and feel this motion, and watch this moon. The water temperature feels slightly cooler now, or perhaps it is just my imagination. Perhaps it is the deepening of the night, the slow progression toward that coldest hour before dawn. The change is subtle, barely noticeable, but I sense it somehow, feel it in the quality of the air, in the way the mist hangs closer to the surface, and the way my breath becomes just slightly more visible when I exhale. The night is moving through its natural cycle, cooling and darkening and settling, and I am moving through the night, held by it, protected by it, carried by it toward whatever comes next. The helm requires almost no pressure now, just the lightest touch, just the faintest presence of my hands, and the boat continues on its course as if sailing itself, as if it knows where to go without needing to be told, without needing to be guided. This is the sign of good design, of proper balance, of a vessel that is at home in its element, that moves through water the way fish move through water, naturally, effortlessly, perfectly. I am just a passenger, really just someone along for the journey, and the boat is doing all the work, is making all the decisions, is finding its own way forward. I look behind at the wake stretching out into the darkness, a pale line of disturbed water that marks the boat's passage. That shows where I have been, that traces my path across the sea. The wake will fade soon, will merge back into the general texture of the water, will disappear completely, as if I had never passed this way. And there is something both sad and liberating about this impermanence, about the way the sea refuses to hold on to any trace of my passage, refuses to remember that I was here. It is the ultimate statement of the present moment. Nothing lasts, nothing remains. There is only now, only this, only what is happening in this instant, before it fades and is replaced by the next instant. The sail fills and empties and fills again in small rhythmic pulses as the wind varies slightly, microscopically, in ways that are barely perceptible, but that the sail responds to immediately, constantly adjusting, constantly finding the optimal curve, the perfect angle. I could trim the sheets, could make the sail more efficient, more responsive, but there is no need, no purpose, no benefit to doing so. The sail is working perfectly as it is. The boat is moving perfectly as it is. And any adjustment I might make would only be change for the sake of change. Action for the sake of action, unnecessary intervention in a system that is already balanced and harmonious. The darkness is complete now, as dark as it will get, before the first gray hints of pre-dawn begin to show themselves in the eastern sky. And in this darkness the world has reduced itself to its most essential elements: the boat, the water, the wind, the sky, and me. Everything else has fallen away, has been absorbed by the night, has dissolved into the vast emptiness that surrounds this small circle of existence. And in this reduction and this simplification, there is a kind of clarity, a kind of truth, a kind of understanding that cannot be reached when the world is full of complexity and detail and distraction. I breathe slowly, deeply, letting the air fill my lungs completely, letting it rest there for a moment before releasing it. And with each breath I feel myself settling more deeply into the present, letting go more completely of any thought of past or future, of anywhere but here, of anything but this. The breathing becomes a meditation, becomes a practice, becomes a way of being fully present in my body, in this boat, in this moment, on this water, under this clouded moon. And with each breath the peace deepens, the stillness grows, the sense of being exactly where I should be, doing exactly what I should be doing, intensifies. The water laps against the hull, and the sound is hypnotic, rhythmic, endless, a pattern that repeats with slight variations, but never really changes, never really stops, never really begins, just continues, perpetual, eternal, always. I could listen to this sound forever, could let it fill my awareness completely, could allow it to be the only thing I know, the only thing I hear, the only thing that exists. And in listening so completely, so totally, so absolutely, I might disappear into the sound, might become the sound, might lose the boundary between listener and listened, between self and world, between consciousness and the vast unconscious sea. My eyes grow heavy, and I let them close again, just for a moment, just to rest. And the boat continues its progress, continues its motion, continues its journey without needing me to watch, without needing me to guide, without needing me to do anything at all. The helm is balanced, the course is set, the wind is steady, and the boat knows what to do, knows how to be, knows how to sail. And I know that soon, very soon, I will need to go below, will need to rest, will need to sleep, but not quite yet, not quite now. Just a little longer at the helm, just a little more time under the clouded moon, just a little more communion with the night and the sea, and the silver light filtering down through the mist. The boat rocks gently back and forth, side to side, a motion that is both irregular and completely predictable, both random and perfectly patterned, both restless and profoundly still. And in this rocking I find the rhythm of sleep beginning to pull at me, beginning to call to me, beginning to suggest that perhaps it is time, perhaps the watch is done, perhaps the night has given me all it has to give for now, and the rest can wait until tomorrow, until the next night, until the next journey across dark water under a veiled moon. I open my eyes one more time, looking around at the darkness, at the water, at the clouds, at the faint glow of the moon behind its veil, and I feel a deep gratitude for this moment, for this experience, for this simple gift of being here, alive, aware, present in a world of such beauty and peace and quiet magnificence. But I am not quite ready to leave yet, not quite prepared to end this watch, and so I remain at the helm a little longer, letting the night continue to unfold around me, letting the boat continue its slow and steady progress across the water. The waves continue their endless procession, beneath the hull, each one slightly different from the last, each one carrying its own particular shape and rhythm, each one adding its small contribution to the journey. Some waves lift the bow gently and pass beneath with barely a sound, while others slap more insistently against the planks, announcing their presence before moving on. But all of them, regardless of their individual character, are part of the same sea, the same body of water, the same vast and ancient presence that surrounds the boat and carries it forward through the darkness. I think about all the journeys this boat has made, all the nights it has sailed through, all the hands that have held this helm before mine, and I feel connected to that long history, that tradition of sailing, that unbroken line of people who have trusted themselves to the sea and found in it both challenge and solace. The boat carries all those journeys within its wood, all those memories absorbed into its grain, all those moments of wind and water and moonlight preserved somehow in the very substance of its being. And my journey tonight becomes part of that history, adds itself to the accumulation of experience, becomes one more night among countless nights. The moon remains hidden behind its veil, and I have stopped expecting it to emerge, have stopped waiting for the clouds to part and reveal its full brightness. This veiled light is enough, is perfect, is exactly right for this kind of night, this kind of sailing, this kind of quiet contemplation. The diffused silver glow creates a gentleness, a softness, a muted quality that would be lost if the moon shone too brightly, too directly, too clearly. The veil is not hiding the moon, but transforming it, turning it into something more subtle, more nuanced, more appropriate to the stillness of the hour. Far below the surface, in depths I cannot imagine, cannot visualize, cannot comprehend, the ocean continues its own life, its own rhythms, its own mysterious processes. Fish swim in schools through the darkness, following instincts older than thought, moving through their element with the same ease and naturalness that I move through air. Currents flow deep beneath the surface, rivers within the sea, carrying water and nutrients and warmth from one part of the ocean to another, connecting distant places, linking separate ecosystems, maintaining the balance that allows life to flourish in this vast liquid world. And on the surface I move across all of this without disturbing it, without affecting it, without even knowing it is there. My passage as insignificant to the deep ocean as a bird's flight is to the atmosphere it travels through. The wind shifts slightly, coming now from a few degrees more to port, and I adjust the helm to compensate. A tiny movement, a small correction, and the boat responds smoothly, turning just enough to maintain its heading, settling back into its groove. These small interactions between me and the boat and the wind and the water have become so natural, so automatic, that I barely register them consciously anymore. My body knows what to do, my hands know how to move, and my mind is free to drift, to observe, to simply be present without needing to think or plan or decide. The amber light from the cabin continues to glow, warm and inviting, and sometimes I imagine going below, imagine lying down on the bunk, imagine pulling the blanket up and feeling the boat rock me to sleep. But the imagining is enough for now, is satisfying in itself, and I remain where I am, held by the night, held by the quiet beauty of the moment, held by something I cannot name, but can only feel, only experience, only know through this direct contact with the sea and the sky and the sailing vessel that connects them. I run my hand along the smooth wood of the helm, feeling the grain beneath my palm, feeling the solidity and strength of it, feeling the connection it provides between my intention and the boat's movement. This simple piece of wood, this carved and shaped and polished tool, is the interface between my will and the sea's reality, the mechanism through which I participate in the journey, the point of contact where human purpose meets natural force. And yet the helm itself is just wood, just matter, just substance, and the real steering happens somewhere else, somewhere deeper, in the relationship between all the elements, in the balance of forces, in the complex interaction of wind and water, and sail and hull. The surface of the sea shows different textures in different places, sometimes smooth and almost glassy, sometimes rippled with small waves, sometimes disturbed by larger swells that roll through from some distant source, some far-off storm or wind that has sent its energy traveling across the ocean to arrive here, now, in this moment. I watch these variations, these changes in the water's surface, and I see in them the evidence of forces at work across vast distances, the proof that nothing on the sea is truly isolated, truly separate, truly independent. Everything is connected, everything influences everything else, and this small boat moving through the darkness is part of that great web of connection, that network of cause and effect that spans the globe. My thoughts have slowed almost to a stop, have become less like thoughts and more like simple observations, simple registrations of what is happening, what is present, what exists in this moment. There is the boat, there is the water, there is the wind, there is the moon, there is the night, and there is this awareness that notices these things without needing to comment on them, without needing to interpret them, without needing to do anything but allow them to be exactly what they are. And in this simple allowing, this simple acceptance, there is a peace that goes deeper than any peace that comes from activity or achievement or the solving of problems. The rigging creaks again as the boat rolls slightly to starboard, responding to a larger swell that passes beneath, and the sound is familiar and comforting. The sound of a vessel doing what it is designed to do, flexing and moving and absorbing the energy of the sea without strain, without complaint, without resistance. The boat is not fighting the water but dancing with it, moving with it, accepting each wave and swell and ripple as it comes, adapting to each change without trying to impose its own rhythm, its own pattern, its own will on the sea. I breathe in again, and the air is clean and pure, free of any contamination, any pollution, any human interference, just the natural smell of the ocean, of salt and water and space and distance. This air has traveled across thousands of miles of open water, has been cleansed by its passage, has been purified by its journey. And when I breathe it in, I am breathing something essential, something fundamental, something that connects me to the planet itself, to the great cycles of atmosphere and ocean that make life possible. And when I breathe out, I am returning something to the world, contributing my small measure of carbon dioxide to the air, participating in the exchange of gases that links all breathing creatures, all living things, all the myriad forms of life that depend on this shared atmosphere. The darkness has become familiar now, has become comfortable, has become home. My eyes have adjusted so completely to the low light that I can see details I would have missed earlier in the night, can distinguish subtle variations in the water's surface, can make out the individual clouds as they drift across the moon, can even see the faint line of the horizon where the water meets the sky. The darkness is no longer an absence, but a presence, no longer a lack of light, but a kind of light itself, a different quality of illumination that reveals different things, shows different aspects of the world, allows different kinds of seeing. The helm pulses gently in my hands, transmitting the small movements of the rudder, the small pressures of the water against it, and I feel these pulses like a heartbeat, like the vital signs of the boat itself, like evidence of life and motion and the ongoing flow of energy through the system. The boat is alive in its own way, animated by the wind and the water, given purpose by its design, made meaningful by its function, and I am part of that aliveness, part of that animation, part of that purpose and function and meaning. I look up at the clouds again, watching how they move, how they shift, how they change shape slowly and continuously, never remaining still, never settling into any fixed form, always in transition, always becoming something else. The clouds are like thoughts in a way, arising and passing away, forming and dissolving, appearing and disappearing. And if I try to hold on to any particular cloud, try to keep it in view, try to stop it from changing, I will fail, because change is the nature of clouds, is the essential characteristic that makes them what they are. And so I simply watch them pass, watch them transform, watch them move across the face of the moon, without trying to control them or stop them, or make them into anything other than what they already are. The temperature continues its slow decline, the air growing gradually cooler as the night deepens, and I pull my jacket a little tighter around me, not because I am uncomfortable, but simply as a natural response, a small adjustment to maintain the equilibrium between my body and the environment. The cold is not extreme, not harsh, not punishing, just a gentle coolness that reminds me of the season, of the latitude, of the fact that I am on the ocean at night where the temperature always drops, always seeks its own level, always finds its natural balance between the warm and the cool. The water stretches out endlessly in all directions, and I try to imagine where it goes, where it ends, what shores it touches, what other vessels might be moving across its surface somewhere far beyond my sight. There could be other boats out here, other sailors watching their own clouded moons, other people finding their own peace in the motion and the darkness and the silver light. Or there might be no one else, might be only me in this vast emptiness, the only human consciousness aware of this particular stretch of water, this particular moment in time, this particular configuration of wind and wave and cloud. Either way is fine, either way is enough, because the presence or absence of others changes nothing about this experience, adds nothing, and takes nothing away from the simple fact of being here, being alive, being aware. I shift my position on the seat again, not because I am uncomfortable, but just to maintain circulation, to keep my body engaged, to prevent the stiffness that comes from sitting too long in one position. The movement is small and easy and requires no effort, and as soon as I settle into the new position, it feels as natural and comfortable as the old one. And I know I could sit like this for hours more if needed, could continue this watch through the entire night and into the dawn without strain or difficulty or discomfort. The sail above me is barely visible in the darkness, just a suggestion of shape against the slightly lighter sky, but I can hear it working, can hear the wind moving across its surface, can hear the small sounds it makes as the cloth stretches and relaxes in time with the gusts and lulls of the breeze. The sail is like a lung in a way, breathing in the wind, expanding with it, contracting with it, mediating between the air and the boat, between the invisible force and the visible motion, between the potential energy of the moving atmosphere and the kinetic energy of the moving vessel. My mind drifts to other nights, other voyages, other times when I have been at sea alone in the darkness, and the memories blend with the present moment, creating a kind of eternal now where all sailing becomes one sailing. All nights become one night. All moments of peace and solitude and gentle motion become a single continuous experience that exists outside of time, beyond time, independent of time. And in this eternal now there is no past to regret and no future to worry about. Just this ongoing present, this perpetual moment, this endless now that contains everything and requires nothing. The waves continue to pass beneath the hull, and I have long since stopped counting them, stopped tracking them, stopped paying attention to them as individual events. They have merged into a single continuous phenomenon, an ongoing process, a constant flow that is always the same and always different, always repeating and always new. The waves are like breath, like heartbeat, like any of the rhythmic processes that sustain life, that mark the passage of existence, that connect one moment to the next in an unbroken chain of being. Far off in the distance, or perhaps not so far, distance being impossible to judge in the darkness, a larger swell lifts the boat more noticeably, raising the bow higher than usual, holding it there for a moment as if considering something, then gently lowering it back down to the previous level. The boat absorbs this larger movement easily, gracefully, without any sense of strain or stress, and I feel a surge of confidence in the vessel, in its design, in its construction, in its ability to handle whatever the sea presents without danger or difficulty or concern. I think about the shore I left behind, though it feels like days ago rather than hours, and I try to remember why I left, what I was seeking, what I hoped to find out here in the darkness and solitude. But the reasons have faded, have become unimportant, have dissolved into the larger purpose of simply being here, simply doing this, simply allowing the night and the sea to work their quiet magic on my mind and spirit. Whatever I was seeking I have found, or perhaps I have discovered that I was not really seeking anything at all, that the journey itself is enough, that the simple act of sailing is its own reward, its own purpose, its own justification. The moon shifts behind its clouds, and the quality of light changes again, becoming perhaps slightly warmer, slightly more golden, though this could be my imagination, could be my eyes adjusting once more to the darkness, could be nothing more than the natural variation in how filtered moonlight appears, depending on the density and composition and altitude of the clouds. But whatever the cause, the change is subtle and beautiful, adding another layer to the night's quiet complexity, another variation to the endless theme of light and shadow, brightness and darkness, revelation and concealment. My hands have grown stiff from holding the helm, and I flex my fingers working the joints, restoring circulation, bringing feeling back to the tips where the cold has numbed them slightly. The discomfort is minor, hardly worth noticing, and it passes quickly as the blood flows back and the warmth returns. These small physical sensations anchor me in my body, remind me that I am not just consciousness floating in darkness, but an embodied being, a creature of flesh and blood and bone, subject to cold and fatigue and the need for rest and sustenance. But these needs are not urgent, not pressing, not demanding attention right now, and they can wait, can be deferred, can be set aside for a while longer while I continue this watch, this communion, this simple presence at the helm. The water makes soft sounds as it moves past the hull, sounds that are almost musical, almost melodic, almost like a voice speaking in a language I cannot understand, but can somehow still appreciate, still respond to, still find meaningful. The sea is telling me something through these sounds, sharing some wisdom, offering some teaching, but the message is not one that can be put into words, not one that can be captured in language, not one that can be thought about or analyzed or explained. It can only be heard, only be felt, only be absorbed into the deeper parts of the mind where understanding happens without words, where knowledge exists without concepts, where truth is known directly and immediately and completely. I realize that I have been sailing for a very long time now, longer than I initially intended, longer than I planned, longer than seems quite reasonable. But the realization brings no concern, no worry, no sense that I should do anything differently, because time has become elastic out here, has become flexible, has lost its usual constraints and demands. An hour might be a minute or a day, and it makes no difference, changes nothing, affects nothing. The sailing continues regardless of how much time has passed, or how much remains, and I continue at the helm regardless of how long I have been here, or how long I might stay. The deck beneath my feet is solid and reassuring, worn smooth by years of use, marked by the passage of countless footsteps, scarred by the dropping of tools and the dragging of lines and all the small incidents that accumulate over a vessel's lifetime. Each mark tells a story, records an event, preserves a memory, and the deck is like a book written in wood, a chronicle of the boat's life, a testament to all the journeys it has made, and all the weather it has endured, and all the hands that have worked upon its surface. And my feet tonight are adding their own small contribution to this chronicle, wearing the wood fractionally smoother, adding to the patina of use, becoming part of the boat's ongoing story. The clouds have thickened again, and the moon's light has dimmed further, and the darkness has deepened once more, but I feel no disappointment, no sense of loss, no desire for more light than what I have. This darkness is good, is right, is perfect for this moment, for this place, for this kind of sailing that requires no visual reference, no clear view, no ability to see far ahead. The boat knows where it is going, or does not need to know, and I trust it to find its way, to maintain its course, to carry me safely through the night, regardless of how dark it becomes, regardless of how little I can see, regardless of how completely the clouds conceal the moon. I breathe deeply once more, filling my lungs with the clean night air, holding it for a moment to feel the life in it, to appreciate the gift of it, to acknowledge the simple fact that breathing is possible, is easy, is effortless. And when I exhale, I release not just air, but also any remaining tension, any lingering worry, any last traces of the concerns and anxieties that belong to another world, another life, another version of myself that exists on land and in daylight and in the company of other people. Out here now, in this darkness, on this water, at this helm, I am something else, something simpler, something more basic and essential and true. The night surrounds me completely. embraces me, holds me, protects me, and I surrender to it willingly, gratefully, completely. There is nowhere else I need to be, nothing else I need to do, no one else I need to become. This moment is enough, this place is enough. This simple act of sitting at the helm and feeling the boat move beneath me and watching the clouds drift across the veiled moon is enough. Everything I need is here. Everything I want is here. Everything that matters is contained within this small circle of boat and water and wind and sky. And so I remain holding the helm lightly, feeling the motion, breathing the air, watching the darkness, listening to the water, being present, being here, being now, being simply and completely alive in this moment that stretches out endlessly in all directions and that contains within itself all moments, all places, all possible experiences of peace and stillness and gentle communion with the sea. The journey continues, and I continue with it, and the night continues around us both, and there is no need for anything to change, no reason for anything to end, no purpose in thinking about what comes next. There is only this, only now, only the slow and steady progress across dark water under a clouded moon, and it is enough, more than enough, everything. And perhaps eventually, when the time is truly right, when my body finally insists, when the pull of sleep becomes stronger than the pull of the night, I will go below to the cabin, will lie down on the bunk, will pull the blanket over me, and let the rocking of the boat carry me down into dreams. But for now, just for now, for a little while longer, I remain at the helm, under the clouded moon, on the open sea, at peace